Perfect.
I will, hopefully you should be able to share the screen. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, let me know when you can see the screen.
Yeah.
Yep, got it.
Perfect. So
That's good.
yeah, Anna, do you wanna kick things off?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, firstly, good morning, everyone, and thanks for inviting us along today. So myself and Joe are both business partnerships managers at Weston College. So we work in the business growth team, and our roles are essentially to support businesses to access funding, helping them to recruit new talent into their business, and just to generally help them to drive the business forward. And we're here today to kind of talk you through some of the options that are available to businesses in regards to recruitment and training. We appreciate sometimes with so many schemes and incentives, it can be really challenging to identify which will best fit your organisation. So it's very much a light touch presentation today, just because there's so much to cover. We don't want to overwhelm you with information. So if there is anything that is of particular interest or you'd like further information on, then we'll happily kind of return to kind of have a chat in a little bit more detail. But today we just hope that we can kind of give you the resources and the information to know what options are available. We all appreciate that now more than ever. Employers are looking at how they can best equip their workforce moving forward to help you thrive in the future. So we will be going through some of the options available to you via Weston College.
Perfect. Thank you, Anna. So yeah, exactly as Anna said there, and I think the key takeaway from this for me would be if there's anything that jumps out to those viewing the information we've got here, get in touch with either Anna or myself, and we can kind of have a further conversation and break things down in a bit more detail, because I think there is such a vast amount of opportunities that further education providers are able to offer employers. It can be a bit overwhelming, and when you see so much in the press about employer support and the options that are available, it's almost quite, half the battle is deciding which is the most appropriate route for your organization, and then we move into how we can help support that. So either Anna or myself, more than happy to have a informal discussion about what it may look like and how your business can benefit. But I think important to initially give you some background on the college and things that have been going on in recent years. So currently Ofsted outstanding in all areas and have been shortlisted for FE College of the Year for 2021. In terms of the SEND provision, we're a national centre for excellence for learners with special educational needs and learning difficulties. In terms of apprenticeship provider, as an employer, you'll be in safe hands with us. We've just been awarded Bristol and Bath's apprenticeship provider for the 3rd year in a row, which we're incredibly proud of. And a lot of employers kind of come to Weston as their first port of call for apprenticeship delivery. Dr. Paul Phillips, the principal, has just won a Lifetime Achievement Award for his work within FE, and the college has transformed tremendously in sort of under his leadership and in recent times. And a lot of that has been more closely aligning what it is the college does to supporting employers and the local business community. In terms of other awards that sort of stand out on there, 2 National Beacon Awards, which are the kind of ultimate achievement sort of grouping really within FE. So FE Leader of the Year for Dr. Paul Phillips, and then another award there for mental health and well-being. So I think it sort of speaks volumes about the sort of delivery partner that we are and the kind of values that we operate under. Moving into the presentation, I think that really the sort of key from today is that as a college, we want to work in partnerships with employers to assist with whatever your needs are. So at the centre of the majority of what Anna and I do is employer partnerships, and there's kind of 4 sort of remits that spin off from that. So whether employers are looking at recruiting new talent, retaining or upskilling existing talent, things like workforce and business support opportunities and spotting future talent. There's kind of a variety of resources we can put in place with you to assist with meeting those needs, and they're listed on there. I'm not going to go into too much detail and talk through them one by one as they are on there, because they're broken down further in the slides ahead. But I think what we'll aim to do with this presentation is just to offer an overview and give you a little bit more insight. So if something does jump out, like I say, you can follow that up with us. And it may be that, you know, there's more than one thing that we're able to assist with, and they can kind of blend into each other, which is what we see a lot of employers do to assist with talent pipelines and upskilling. So first thing to sort of look at here are traineeships, and these have been in the press a lot recently. There's been quite a hefty amount of funding put forwards from the government to support traineeships in recent years. I know apprenticeships have grown sort of phenomenally in the more recent history, and there's something they want traineeships to match. However, a kind of awareness of it isn't as out there as it is for programs like apprenticeships. So what is a traineeship? It's the obvious question to ask here. So it's designed for young people between 16 to 24, and it's a program that can last between 6 weeks and 6 months, and that's often employer led. So that's not something your FE provider will dictate. That will be what your needs are as an employer. They're a great way to source new talent. You know, you can get to know a trainee before potentially offer them a job or an apprenticeship. The way to think of a traineeship sometimes is like a pre-job or pre-apprenticeship program. So this is for young people that aren't quite ready for an apprenticeship opportunity, that will be looking to progress on to that. So in terms of what they'll do with us, we'll work with them on their professional skills within that 4 weeks of training with Weston College, and that will then lead into 6 weeks of placement with an employer and ongoing further training with us. And what that placement can look like is, again, flexible on the employer and what you can support with. The traineeship ends with a mock interview, so there's no requirement to take the trainee on following the traineeship. That's an important point to get across. You do have to offer them an exit interview once they come out of the traineeship. I think it's also important to mention that for the traineeship, you can gain up to £1,000 worth of incentive payments per trainee, and that can be claimed for up to 10 trainees. So yeah, you know, it's quite a successful way to go. Sorry, I've skipped ahead there. So that's sort of traineeships in a nutshell. Like I say, the way to think of it is as a sort of a pre-apprenticeship or pre-work program. We've seen them work really well for some employers that know that they're going to have a set intake for apprentices or job opportunities, and they'll run a traineeship program prior to that to get to know the young person, to understand a bit about them. You know, you can kind of implement your company ethos onto them so that you know they'll be a good fit, and then following that they can be offered the opportunity. And with apprenticeship starts being quite flexible, generally it's a good way to go and relatively low risk for employers. So moving on to industry placements, and I'll hand over to Anna.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so an industry placement, the best way to describe this is essentially a more substantial version of work experience. So students on a level 3 program.
I just say, Anna, you are very quiet. You're much quieter than Joe and quieter than you were before.
Is that a little bit better?
That's better, thank you.
Okay, my microphone was down here, that's probably why. No problem. So an industry placement is a required element of a learner study program. So they are expected to work with an employer for 1 day a week consistently throughout the academic year. So as you can see on the slide, it's a minimum of 315 hours, which is obviously much more substantial than your 1 week work experience. So that enables the student to kind of be in an occupationally specific kind of experience with an employer, so that they can develop and apply what they learn in the classroom and use that in a real life kind of workplace. And it gives employers the opportunity to kind of spot new talent. Joe mentioned about building a future pipeline, so an industry placement is a really effective way of doing that. And it's, as I said, it's a requirement of a level 3 course, so students are typically between 16 and 19 years of age, and the industry placement we've kind of been piloting for the last couple of years. and it is part of the T-level, which you may or may not be familiar with, and it's just a mandatory element of the programme where they are applying technical skills into a workplace. Not sure if there's another slide or not, Joe.
You're muted, Joe.
Joys of Zoom.
Sorry, it's gone on to the next slide on my screen. Can everyone see that or not? Oh.
I can just see you now. As wonderful as that is, I can't see the presentation.
Right. Bear with me. Right, apologies.
That's okay. So some of the benefits and the ways that an industry placement can help your organisation, as I said, reiterating Joe's point of kind of spotting new talent, industry placements are a great risk-free way of recruiting talent into your business. So, so we've seen many case studies where a student has spent 1 day a week throughout the year with an employer, and have then progressed on to an apprenticeship, traineeship. They might have secured part-time work or have been fully employed by that business because they've had a year being embedded into that company. They've learnt the ethos of that particular organisation, and we pride ourselves on having a bespoke kind of matching process. So we have a dedicated team of work placement officers at the college who can help kind of link up a student with a business. So the way we manage that process is similar to that of a recruitment process, so that the students are getting those workplace behaviours and getting prepared for the industry. And at the moment, there's a big push behind industry placements. And as you can see there is actually a £1,000 incentive payment available for any employer who hosts a student for an industry placement. And that can be put towards any extra equipment. Obviously, everyone's working from home at the moment, so that money can be used towards extra resource for the business. So there are definitely some tangible benefits of hosting a student on an industry placement.
Perfect. So moving on to supported internships, and this is sort of an employment initiative that has been put in place sort of through the SEND faculty. And Anna, if you could let me know if there's any more screen sharing issues, because
okay, will do.
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, supported internships, like I say, it's really a program that's been put up with one primary aim, and that's to support young people with SEND to move into sustainable employment. So if you're an employer that advocates for supporting people with additional learning needs or disabilities, then this is a perfect opportunity to assist them on their journey. In terms of what it looks like, it's essentially an internship that is also supported by colleagues from the Interwork team. So specialist job coaches are on hand to assist. Now, it's not a paid internship, but the aim for these young people is to come out of education and progress into employment, and the supported internship forms a sort of basis of their program. So it comes from a place that there's sort of wide recognition that a lot of young people with SEND struggle to move into employment once they leave us, and this is a sort of a government-led program to back that and try and get those people more opportunities. The job coaches assist employers to provide specialist knowledge, advice and guidance, and if there's additional training required, we can also support this. So I think for some employers, sometimes it can seem like quite a large task to support someone with autism, for example, in the workplace, and how they would go about that. And that may present challenges, but that's what the job coaches are there to do. And we can also provide further sort of specialist training on autism and things like that to assist with you being an employer to support that. There's also a reasonable adjustment funding available. So if reasonable adjustments need to be made for the supported intern, then we can sort of draw down that funding and assist with getting that for you. But why would an employer sort of go down the route of taking on a supported intern? I think it's great for reputation. It's a really, really good, and they won't mind me saying this, I think it's a brilliant pool of talent. And we've had some learners progress from the STEM faculty into paid employment, and they're still doing sort of sterling jobs in, some sort of well-known organizations across the region. And it can help keep those recruitment costs down by accessing that talent pool. Can improve staff retention rate. And I think there are massive benefits to a neurodiverse workforce, different ways of doing things. I think it can help massively with reputation, and being an employer that's disability confident and supporting, people with disabilities. It can go a really long way. So there are plenty of young people looking for employment opportunities through internships, and they want to work with you to help develop their skills. So that's something else that we can support with. Moving on to sector-based work academies, appreciate quite brief overviews, but again, we could do hours on each of these, so I think it's important to keep it brief. A sector-based work academy program is a fairly new initiative that's come through the Department for Work and Pensions. Weston College, we work quite closely with the DWP through things like the Kickstart scheme and the sector-based work academies. I think the sector-based work academies are brilliant if you've got a recruitment need and you're looking to get people into quite a specific industry. We've seen these have a really good impact in sectors within warehousing, cleaning, even people working on doors or at security events. It's been really, really popular. So they're for people that are 19 plus and registered with the DWP. So that generally is for universal credit, and for those that are looking to retrain and change career through the pandemic. So typically they're a 2-week course that are bespoke to an industry. So I use the warehousing as an example there. What we have done is run these for cohorts of learners that then go into a workplace, and they support through sort of trial shifts within the employer, but they'll also be doing employability skills with us, and we can work with them to get sort of certain qualifications. So I think with the warehousing one, there was a forklift license included, but we've also used these in construction, and as part of the sector-based work academy, the candidates also achieve things like their CSCS card so they can get onto site. The applicants for this are recruited via the DWP and the college, so we sort of jointly signpost to get participants for this based on what the employer's requirements are. And the other sort of big part of it is that the employer feeds directly into the training content. So if you run a very kind of specialized business and you're looking for people with a very sort of certain set of capabilities, then you can kind of have a say in what is delivered, because ultimately the end goal of the sector-based work academy program, or the SWAP, is to make sure that those people can leave and have an interview for a possible job role that's available. And like I say, we see a lot of employers using this to kind of get some really good candidates coming through off the top of the courses, and moving them into full-time employment. The only really parameter that's associated with this is that there's a guaranteed interview for each applicant following the program. And another nice thing about these SWAPs is that they are fully funded, so there's no cost to the employers because the funding is through the DWP. This can really help sort of widen the pool of applicants for vacancies if you've got vacancies that you're struggling to fill. And then successful applicants progress to jobs and further training. There isn't a need to recruit everybody that comes through this. Only the opportunity to offer a job to one person is a requirement. You can take on more than that. So those are the sector-based work academy programs, and they have been incredibly popular off the back of the pandemic. Apprenticeships. So, huge popularity at the moment. Apprenticeships are absolutely flying, largely down to the introduction of the apprenticeship levy. But what is an apprenticeship? So it's a mixture of work-based learning and study for people aged 16 and upwards. for the apprentice an opportunity to enter an industry, earn a nationally recognised qualification and gain the skills and knowledge your businesses are looking for. So these are a bit more bespoke, where their training is directly associated to their job role. So if you were to looking to recruit a administrator, there's a business administration apprenticeship. If you were looking to recruit a infrastructure technician for an IT department, there's an apprenticeship standard for that. So this is where the job roles are very sort of specialized, because the focus of what they're doing in employment needs to match up with their apprenticeship program. So, you know, if they're a commis chef, they'll be doing a commis chef apprenticeship with us. There's a huge variety, and I think the college offers over 80 apprenticeship standards in sectors like law, finance, construction, civil engineering, digital, engineering, you know, it goes on and on, childcare and hospitality and others. So there's plenty more than I've listed there. Typically the qualifications are from level 2 all the way up to degree level. I think that's important to mention, because the degree apprenticeships for SMEs are very, very sort of well balanced in terms of their funding and what's achieved through that. So it's well worth looking at. You know, if you're looking to recruit for something that is quite specialized and there's an apprenticeship standard that matches that, then an apprenticeship would be a good way to go. In terms of how it differs to some of the other opportunities we've spoken about previously, I think if you've got a very specific recruitment need and you're looking for someone, you know, with a really good set of credentials that can move straight into an employment opportunity, then an apprenticeship would probably be the best place to signpost for that kind of position, because like I say, with them being from level 2, which is typically entry level, all the way up to level 6 degree, you know, you're talking there level 2 could be a 12-month program versus level 6, which is typically 4 years if they're doing a degree through an apprenticeship. So that kind of commitment for both the apprentice and the employer is very, very different to what we've discussed previously. So for a business, you know, they're a great opportunity to recruit new employees, upskill or retrain current staff. So to dispel the myth there, an apprenticeship can be used for existing employees, and we see this being really popular with things like team leading apprenticeships. We also see this across, you know, a whole host of things. If someone's in a specific role and they're progressing, for example, if, you know, someone's a HR advisor and they're looking to move to a HR partner, we do the progression from like a level 3 to a level 5. So it's often a really, really good way to assist with CPD. Now, employers that pay the apprenticeship levy, that's an employer that has a payroll of excess of £3 million annually. If you don't meet that criteria, then you only pay 5% of the course costs that are listed for the program. So you know, if we take business administration for an example, 5% of that course cost would be £250. And that would be the only sort of cost for that 18 months worth of training. The other thing you get out of that is the college will actually do the recruitment for you. So we'd advertise this position on the national government website, applicants apply, employers then receive sort of suitable and final shortlisted candidates to interview and appoint. And once they're appointed, they're then enrolled onto their apprenticeship program. So it's a very thorough process. And I think, you know, just sort of highlights in the bottom left there, we've been awarded Bristol and Bath Apprenticeship Provider for the 3rd year in a row, because it's a really big part of what we do, and we do it to a level that a lot of employers are very, very happy with. In terms of incentive, currently for a 16 to 18-year-old, there's up to £4,000 available for each apprentice hired. So that kind of offsets that 5% cost that I've mentioned a minute ago. If they're 19 plus, I think it dips down to £3,000. And I've touched on the free recruitment service at the college there. So, you know, we can support in terms of, you know, getting candidates through all the way up to arranging the interviews themselves. So it's quite a thorough process offered. Moving on from an apprenticeship to the Kickstart scheme, which I think Rachel mentioned you've had information on recently, so I'll be very, very brief with this, but Weston College are acting as a Kickstart gateway. So if anyone needs support or is thinking about the Kickstart scheme, then please do let us know, because we can help as well. We're one of the biggest Kickstart gateways in the Southwest now, and I think, yeah, we're just about to make our 7th submission of roles into the DWP. So we act as a go-between between employers and the DWP. So if you're looking to access Kickstart, please do let us know. The scheme itself offers you an opportunity to discover sort of new talent, and that's typically people that are 16 to 24 and currently receiving universal credit. So those are the only applicants that can access your Kickstart roles. Through the scheme, you receive 100% of the wage funding for 25 hours a week across a 6-month period. And that also covers associated national insurance contributions and the minimum automatic pension enrolment. So in order to access the scheme through us, an employer needs to be registered on Companies House, and the candidate needs to be put onto PAYE once employed. And employers also get a £1,500 funding grant to help with the setup of the job placement, whether that's PPE that's needed or training, or you might need additional licenses if you're in the digital world. So that can be used to cover those costs. So it's a brilliant scheme, and it's been really, really popular. And we've created quite a few opportunities through us as a gateway, and I know regionally it's doing really, really well as well. So yeah, if you like the sound of having a 16 to 24-year-old in for a 6-month period for 25 hours a week for no cost other than really your time with their wages being covered, then yeah, it's very, very appealing. And in terms of that criteria, it needs to be a minimum of 25 hours a week for 6 months for that person's job role. And they need to be paid at least the national minimum wage for their age. So the majority of applications we get coming through from employers are listed at national minimum wage. And the other criteria is that the role should only require basic training. So this isn't the scheme for you if you're hoping to take on graduates, or there's quite sort of high entry requirements because it needs to require any basic training. This wouldn't be ideal for getting someone in to do manufacturing to quite an advanced level. This is more entry level roles, but in terms of the response to the pandemic, it's been brilliant as a kind of extra pair of hands to get people in to help businesses return to normal and manage the changes that we're all going through. But again, Kickstart, very, very, very popular. So moving on to Workforce for the Future and to Anna.
Brilliant, thanks, Joe. So Joe just mentioned about new kind of initiatives and programs to help businesses to kind of build back, get back on their feet after the COVID-19 pandemic, which we know has obviously had a very significant impact, especially on local businesses and SMEs. So this is a free regional program that's in place to kind of support small and medium-sized enterprises in areas such as digital. It could support them to source and bring in new staff, and again just be there to help drive their business forward. So Weston College is actually kind of delivering this programme in conjunction with the West of England Combined Authority, and by registering interest with us, you'll not only benefit from our support, but also a whole host of other partners which are on hand to kind of give free support, bespoke training, help access kind of work placements, traineeships. But what I'd like to talk about on the next slide is a project that we're running as a pilot to help businesses to build back better. So as you can see there, it's a new kind of pilot workshop series, and the objective is to support SMEs with some of the topical themes and challenges that they may have had to navigate through during the pandemic. So we've had conversations with a lot of SMEs needing to kind of upskill their staff digitally, or to kind of know how to make their businesses more sustainable. So we are offering some kind of workshops as a light touch introduction to some of those themes that we think will help SMEs kind of get back on their feet and to help drive their businesses forward. So on the next slide, we've got a calendar of events. I think we've got one event that is upcoming next Thursday, and that is called Going Green, Being Seen. So helping businesses to learn how they can be more sustainable moving forward. We've had 2 really successful workshops happen over the last kind of couple of months. And that again is in response to what SMEs are telling us that they've found challenging. So the first one, we looked at how to maximize websites. Obviously, having an online presence has been incredibly important for a lot of local businesses. So the session focused on how to kind of improve your online platforms, and then A couple of weeks ago, we had consultants deliver on social media for business, which again was a really popular theme that kept coming up in terms of our SME conversations. So by working with WECA, we've been able to kind of facilitate these workshops, and as the feedback has been really positive, we hope that we can kind of extend the series and deliver more workshops in the autumn and throughout the next academic year. So if any of your kind of employees have any particular requests, or you think that you would like to access these workshops for free, then we'd be really interested to kind of hear your ideas on what themes or topics you may like to see as part of that event calendar. So I know Beth's on the call today from Simply Green Zero Waste, so you're probably a pro at sustainability, but if there's any kind of particular themes that you think would be of interest, then again we can point you in the right direction and signpost to some of those events and workshop opportunities that we have coming up.
Brill. Thanks, Anna, for covering that bit. So yeah, just to finish on there, I'm aware we've whizzed through quite a lot of information, but pop some time in just to say thank you for allowing us to offer this information today. And if anyone's got any questions, the emails are on the screen there. I'll also pop them in the chat because, like I say, we've gone through a lot there in a relatively short space of time. So if there are any questions and anyone wants to fire away that's on the call currently, please do. If not, we're more than happy to pick these up following. But I think it's important that it's not a specific inquiry into any one thing. If you just want to have a conversation about the support that's available and the circumstance that your business is in, then we're more than happy to have that conversation and see how best, what the best solution for you may be. But it all starts with getting in touch and us trying to assist with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna, Joe. That was, well, a whistle-stop tour, but that was actually really, really interesting. Kim, I know you joined us a bit later. Was there something specifically you wanted to know that perhaps hasn't been covered while you've joined? You're on mute if you... Oh, put a message in. So, you must be in a room, so yes.
Yeah, we'd be more than happy.
Oh, I see, so there's no camera. That's fine. Can you come off mute and speak? I don't know if you're...
She said
maybe not. Maybe
Yeah,
not.
no.
Maybe not. That's fine then. Yeah. So Anna Jo, Kim looks after our local youth centre, so she's the manager for there. Microphone on this computer either. Oh, bless. Yeah. So good. So hopefully you can obviously hear us, but you can't speak. That's fine. So yeah, so Kim looks after the local youth centre. So I wonder whether there was a couple of specifics that she may be wanting. So I'm sure she will be in contact with either or both of you for further information.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
That's, one question I'd like to raise was that in some previous discussions, the possibility was mentioned of perhaps the college having some form of hub or arrangement in places like Portishead, where some of these services could be controlled and directed. How practical a possibility is that?
Is that in terms of physical premises, David?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Within Portishead, I'm not too sure what the plans are at the moment. I know, something that's in the college's sort of future strategies, we will be looking at sort of, growth and in terms of where bases could be. I'm not sure if that's been finalised. I don't know. To my knowledge, there's no immediate plans for kind of opportunity within Portishead. But the nice thing that we are able to offer at the moment is that apprenticeship delivery and things like that are delivered, for a lot of programs are delivered on site at employers' sites. So, if it's something like a sector-based work academy program or a traineeship or even an apprenticeship, then these generally can be delivered from the employer's location. So there wouldn't be that kind of need to travel into a specific centre for us to deliver on that. I think we've been quite blessed really in terms of the way delivery's moved through this like forced digital transition we've all had. So it's something that employers have, I've noted from conversations I've had that employers are really appreciative of. The travel into Weston from Bristol isn't the easiest, and moving forwards we've got no plans to really go back to that unless there is a need for it, because something's got quite a high level of taught content that they need to attend in a classroom environment. So yeah, not that I can see within Portishead for the foreseeable, but it's not something I'd rule out either.
Kim's question was about being interested in having somebody over the age of 18 who'd be interested in childcare type work experience. So that's, what would the options be from what you said today that you think would be best for her?
Anna, do you want to go with industry placement for childcare?
I think for childcare, all students are expected to do a substantial amount of work experience. It's a mandatory part of their study program. So I think for an industry placement, you would definitely be able to secure someone for at least 1 day a week, if not more. And obviously there are kind of lots of apprenticeships in terms of kind of childcare in early years. So that's definitely, there's definitely a few options there. So just to kind of recap the industry placement, there's no financial kind of commitment to have a student for 1 day a week. But if you think that you could accommodate someone for 25 hours plus, then maybe an apprenticeship would be a good route to go. So there are definitely some options for that.
Okay, so Kim, definitely going to...
Yeah, I think well worth getting in touch, because within childcare, traineeships are really popular. Industry placement, as Anna said there, and then in terms of the actual apprenticeships that we offer, we do early years practitioner at level 2, and then a progression of that onto level 3. So there's quite a few options for childcare. So yeah, definitely worth picking that up just to find out what that level of support would look like. Is there a minimum number of hours per day they need to attend? It depends what it is, I think, Kim. For industry placement, they need to do 315 hours across their 2-year program, but what that looks like is quite flexible, whether that's 1 day a week, or you can sometimes get them in for longer than that. With the traineeship, for example, if you wanted to get a trainee in, that can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months, and the employer kind of attendance in that is quite heavy. So generally, once they've finished their sort of study with us on a traineeship, they're then with the employer sort of full time until the traineeship ends. Or it may be that you think an apprentice is a way to go, although that would be employing somebody. In terms of the early years practitioner at level 2, that's a 12-month qualification, so it would take them 12 months to complete that. But yeah, it'd be good to find out a bit more about what that role looks like and how often you need that support. So I think that's probably best to perhaps pick up in another conversation. But Anna and my emails are on there, so feel free to get in touch with either of us and we can explore it in a bit more detail.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I've got loads of questions, but I do need to go, and I'll email you a bombardment of questions at some point.
Please do. No, we love questions.
Bethan, have you got anything? Bethan?
Hang on. Get my thing done. I was going to ask, I don't know if it was the same event that Anna was at, but it was sort of with the council and with Future Leap. They mentioned about care leaver placements. Is that something that sort of would come through the college, or would it be more through the council? Do you guys
so
know that at all?
I think the care leaver program is through the council. So yeah, I can signpost to the right person if you need to, Bethan. So if you want to drop me an email, I can do that for you. But in terms of the closest we'd be able to offer in similar circumstance would be the supported internships program. But for specific care leavers, that's through NSC. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'll probably email anyway, because I've got. Well, it'd just be good to find out a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that's it really. Can't stress that enough. Just, get in touch and have a conversation. And we can kind of advise on what other businesses are doing and what we may think might be appropriate. And then you can ask questions and get a bit more of the necessary detail. But yeah, fire them through.
Thank you.
Anybody else for any more questions? I'm recording for the questions at the moment, but otherwise then I can stop recording. Silence, probably.
I'm all done.